The most important contributions Christian has made to India is that it has introduced into the country what I call the culture of care. I want us to understand what I mean by that. I don't mean that Indians did not care for each other, or the families did not care for those who were sick, or the community did not care for those who were needy. What I mean is, there was no formalized, efficient method of managing the ill. In other words, there were no hospitals, dispensaries, or medical schools, or pharmacy shops that we have today, but which existed soon after the gospel came into Europe. You know, in the 3rd century onwards, a lot of the monasteries had a hospice, a place where people could be admitted and be managed by some kind of herbs and some kind of medicines. And very soon, this science evolved and they had hospitals. And then when they had hospitals, they felt the need to train professionals. So even by the 11th century, medical schools mushroomed all over Europe. You know, the royal colleges, surgery and medicine, all started in the 11th century. And there were 30 medical schools all over Europe by 1300. A lot of them were in Italy, in Germany, and in the UK. And they were churning out professionals who were caring for the sick people. Now, we did not have such a formalized method of caring. And the reason this did not happen in our country is because of a worldview. It was a worldview problem. You know, when you think that our body is bad, that it is dirty, it is the prison of the soul, it has to vanish, only then you will get redemption for your soul. When you have that kind of a low, profane view of the body, the caring sciences will not develop. But what really happened after the gospel was that the body was thought of as the temple of the Holy Spirit. It was thought as something that was extremely valuable because God Himself took on a human body. And then again, we were promised a resurrected body. And so the body became a very holy thing. It was not an unholy thing anymore. And because the body became a holy thing, looking after the body became an imperative. And so caring started. These medical schools and formalized caring did not happen in any non-Christian cultures before the gospel. So it is very important for us to remember that the worldview of the body was what really started off the culture of caring. And very soon, the British started a medical school in Calcutta and a medical school in Chennai. The French started a medical school in Pondicherry. By 1947, India had 1,000 mission hospitals. And so you can see how the gospel affected the country. It brought in a culture of care, and following that, it brought in the mushrooming of mission hospitals and medical schools in our country. Today, India has the highest number of medical schools in the world, even more than in China. I personally believe was the result of the influence of the gospel. Well, I could say several things, but I will highlight two very important things. The first is in the area of gender bias. First of all, women could not stay in the hospitals overnight. So you cannot admit women. And the second problem was women could not be seen by men professionals. Neither men compounders, nurses, or men doctors could actually see women. And so it was a completely lost situation as far as women were concerned. If they were ill, there was just simply nothing they could do. But neither could they go to the hospital, neither can they see any professionals. And if women were pregnant and they had to be delivered, they had assigned low-caste women to deliver these women. The high-caste women could not touch, delivering women because, of the amniotic fluid and the blood and the feces, and so it was a very unclean thing for them. And so they assigned low-caste dais to deliver women. They added to the complications of childbirth. And there is a very interesting story, and I want to just tell you that story. Maharani of Panna, Panna is near Lucknow, she fell sick. And so she sent a message to a missionary doctor, one Dr. Elizabeth Bealby, who was in Lucknow. She sent a message saying, please come and help me because I'm ill. And so this lady missionary doctor, she was a nurse who requalified and became a doctor because she wanted to help women. So she came and saw the Queen of Panna, Maharani, and she became well after a week or so. And then the Maharani gave her a golden locket. And on the locket, it was written, please, Your Majesty, could you help India by sending many, many women doctors and women nurses? Because the women in India are suffering a great deal. And so this locket was taken by Elizabeth Bealby to London when she went on a furlough, and it was delivered to the Queen. And then the Queen was very moved, and she decreed, saying, we would wish it to be generally known that we sympathize with every effort made to alleviate the suffering of the women of India. And this decree led to many hundreds of women doctors and nurses from the English countries, the English colonies and England, to sort of come to India. And there was another unexpected impact, a very welcome impact, because so many women doctors and women nurses were role modeling this particular profession. The women in India thought that women can actually become doctors and women can actually become nurses. And so they began to take to medicine. And this is the reason why India today has the highest numbers of women doctors in the world. In a country where women were suppressed and put down, in that country, to have the highest number of women doctors needs a very special explanation. And the explanation is this, that the women missionaries role modeled professional caring so that the Indian women began to accept that as an option for their vocation. And then again, you must know that India has one of the highest number of nurses in the world. Not the best nurse-patient ratio. The nurse-patient ratio is bad, but the numbers of nurses, absolute numbers, are very high. And that again started with Christian nurses. There was a time in the 90s, in the 1900s, when only Christians were nurses. No non-Christian would take to nursing because they thought it was dirty, touching these men, or that was not something that they wanted to do. But it was the Christian nurses who role modeled caring. And because of that, later on, a lot of the non-Christians began to take to nursing. And so now India has one of the highest numbers of nurses in the world. Well, you've asked a big question, and because we don't have enough time, I'll focus on only one particular subject, and I call that the stigmatized diseases. There were 3 diseases that were so common in this country that stigmatized, they were cast out of the community. And these 3 diseases are leprosy, highest in the world in India, tuberculosis, again one of the highest in the world in India, and mental illness. I mention mental illness because people who are mentally ill were diagnosed as having a demon or an evil spirit, and they were often beaten badly or thrashed, chained, locked up, ill-treated, sometimes killed. And so what missionaries did for these 3 is really very important for us to know. Lots and lots of tuberculosis sanatoriums were started by the missionaries. And in fact, one of the world's biggest sanatorium was started not far from here in Vellore. And that place became the epicenter for tuberculosis learning. They had training. They used to have annual conferences for tuberculosis. And doctors came from all over the country to learn and study. They started a diploma in chest diseases. So they were challenging tuberculosis head-on in India in that way. And leprosy, there's an interesting description by William Carey. He said, I saw my first leprosy patient outside of Calcutta. He was completely full of bumps and lumps, and they doused kerosene on him and they set him ablaze and they burnt him alive. And he said he was so moved that he immediately started a leprosarium where he put all the leprosy patients in a safe place so that they could be fed and clothed and looked after. And following that, literally hundreds of leprosariums started all over the country. And there are very moving stories of how the missionaries who looked after these leprosy patients got leprosy and they died. And Noor Manzil was a center in Lucknow, started by Stanley Jones in response to the superstitious beliefs they had about mental illness. So this is just an example of how widespread impact that the missionaries had on the health of the country. What I would like people to know is that they need to have a sense of vocation. Young people must have a sense of calling. That means calling does not mean calling to become a doctor. Calling does not mean, to start a community health program in some place. Calling means a sense of responding to God's call. And this is extremely powerful because if you have a sense of calling, you will be able to overcome lots of difficulties and challenges. And if you don't have a sense of calling, you will complain about all the difficulties at work. You will not survive the minor irritations at work. You will not like working very hard. If there are difficulties, you will give up. But when a person has a sense of calling, that sort of person never gives up. Now, let me tell you a story of an American missionary, a lady called Catherine. Now, she had a sense of calling that she needed to come to India and serve the poor people in the country. She had no idea what was there for her. So she took a ship from Boston. So in 1892, she took a ship. It took 6 months to come to Mumbai or Bombay. And then she got off in Bombay. I don't know whom she would have met. She must have written letters. Remember, there were no emails or no WhatsApp messages. So I don't know how she contacted some friends in Bombay, but she did. And then she got herself a seat in a train going to Raipur. And then she took a train to Raipur that took like 4 or 5 days from Mumbai to Raipur. And then from Raipur, she took a horse ride. So she went on a horseback from Raipur to Jagdalpur in Madhya Pradesh. I don't know how long that would have taken. I'm sure many days. Now, just imagine what kind of food she would have eaten. Remember, she's American. She doesn't really know what kind of food is available. Just imagine how she would have managed her own security. She was a single woman. I don't know how she was communicated. She didn't know the language. How she did all this, how she landed in Jagdalpur, and she started a hospital that went on for close to 50 years that served the tribals of Bastar district. And Bastar district now has a Methodist congregation which is one of the biggest in the world. Even today, going to Bastar, people would, people would shudder and shiver. They would not like to go. But remember what it was like in 1892 when there was no railway line to Bastar. Today there is a railway station, but in Jagdalpur, but then there was nothing. So, this is vocation. This is a sense of calling. And I want us young people to have a sense of calling like this, because if you have a sense of calling, then nothing is impossible.